Good morning. It's time for our daily lectionary reading for Sunday, March 27th. Today we've got, try to make it big enough to read, Joshua 5, 9 to 12, Psalm 32, 2 Corinthians 5, 16 to 21, and then Luke 15, verses 1 to 3, and then 11b to 32. So Joshua 5, 9 to 12. The Lord said to Joshua, "Today I have rolled away from you the disgrace of Egypt." And so that place is called Gilgal to this day. While the Israelites were camped at Gilgal, they kept the Passover in the evening on the 14th day of the month in the plains of Jericho. On the day after the Passover, on that very day, they ate the produce of the land, unleavened cakes, and parched grain. The manna ceased on the day they ate the produce of the land, and the Israelites no longer had manna. They ate the crops of the land of Canaan that year. Psalm 32. Happy are those whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Happy are those to whom the Lord imputes no iniquity, in whose spirit there is no deceit. While I kept silence, my body wasted away through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My strength was dried up as by the heat of the summer. And then I acknowledged my sin to you, and I did not hide my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the guilt of my sin. Therefore, let all who are faithful offer prayer to you. At a time of distress, the rush of mighty waters shall not reach them. You are a hiding place for me. You preserve me from trouble. You surround me with glad cries of deliverance. I will instruct you and teach you the way you should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you. Do not be like a horse or a mule without understanding, whose temper must be curbed with bit and bridle, else it will not stay near you. Many are the torments of the wicked, but the steadfast love surrounds those who trust in the Lord. Be glad in the Lord and rejoice, O righteous, and shout for joy, all you upright in heart. All right, 2 Corinthians 5, 16 to 21. From now on, therefore, we regard no one from a human point of view. Even though we once knew Christ from a human point of view, we know him no longer that way. So if anyone is in Christ, there's a new creation. Everything old has passed away. See, everything has become new. All this from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and has given us the ministry of reconciliation. That is, in Christ, God was reconciling the world to himself, not counting their trespasses against them, and entrusting the message of reconciliation to us. So we are ambassadors for Christ. Since God is making his appeal through us, we entreat you on behalf of Christ to be reconciled to God. For our sake, he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. All right, Luke 15, 1 to 3, and then we're jumped to 11b to 32. Now all the tax collectors and sinners were coming near to listen to him. And the Pharisees and scribes were grumbling and saying, "This fellow welcomes sinners and eats with them." So he told them this parable. And then we jump. Now, we skip a couple things in this jump. We skip two short parables. It's only, 8 verses, but we skip 2. The parable of the lost sheep, where if a shepherd has 100 and he loses one, he'll leave the 99 to go find the one and then celebrate. And then the parable of the lost coin, where if a woman had 10 coins and lost one, she would basically turn her house upside down to find it. And when she found it, she would celebrate. And both of those end with basically there'll be more celebration in heaven for one sinner who has come to God than for all the righteous. And then we jump to 11b. Real quick, if you want to know a little bit more, this is my sermon text today, so you can watch the video of the sermon. But one thing is that we're looking at the rule of 3 here, right? It's a standard, it's a storytelling technique, it's a rabbinical teaching technique. The first parable builds to the second parable, which then builds to the big finish, the big finale. In this case, the big finale is the prodigal son. So we have the lesson both twice, that there'll be more celebration for the one sinner than who comes to heaven than the righteous. I'm paraphrasing. Seriously paraphrasing. All right, so those are the two morals. He tells them those morals at the end of those short little parables. So then he told them this parable. There was a man who had two sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me share of the property that will belong to me. So he divided his property between them. By the way, that's highly, highly insulting in that culture, in the ancient Near East. It would basically be saying, Father, you're dead to me. Give me my money now. A few days later, the young man gathered all he had and traveled to a distant country, and there he squandered his property in dissolute living. He ran off to L.A. or New York or Miami. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, sent him to his field to feed the pigs. By the way, pigs, by Jewish law, pigs are unclean, right? Even touching a pig would make you unclean, much less eating pork. No bacon for you. So here he is tending to these unclean animals. This is about as low as a Jew could go. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, How many of my father's hired hands have bread enough to spare? But here I am dying of hunger. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands. So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. And he ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. Then the son said, Father, I sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to the slaves, Quickly, bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. And get the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For the son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate. Before I move on, talk about the father for a second. The father sees the son way off in the distance. And he basically would have gathered up his robes a little bit, which is, you'll hear the phrase, girded their loins. That's what they do, is they pull up the robes and tie it. Which a man of his station would never have done. He would never have run in public, exposing his legs. Only in battle would they have, and then probably not the head of the house. He'd have sent out his hirelings, his soldiers. So he's willing to shame himself in his joy at seeing his son. There's possibly a little bit more of that, but I'm not going to tell you that. You have to watch the sermon. And then the son doesn't even get all the way through his rehearsed speech about how he's not worthy and just treat me like a hired hand. He doesn't even get to finish before the father is saying, basically restoring him to his position, celebrating his return. Now his elder son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the slaves and asked what was going on. He replied, Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf because he has got him back safe and sound. And then he became angry and refused to go in. His father came out and began to plead with him. But he answered his father, Listen, for all these years I've been working like a slave for you, and I've never disobeyed your command. Yet you have never given me even a young goat so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came back, not my brother, this son of yours, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him. And then the father said to him, Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice because this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and has been found. Now, I find it very interesting. The son says, this son of yours, which is funny. It's like when when one of the children have done something wrong, my wife would say, "Your daughter or your son," right? Of course, it works the other way. When my daughter is irritated with her mother, she says, "Your wife." Um, so he says, "This son of yours has come back and devoured your property with prostitutes." There's no mention of prostitutes. How would he know? I think he's projecting a little bit there. Now you can read who you want, how you want into who is what role. Um, I think we all get that God is the Father, right? Generally speaking, but shouldn't the church also be in that role? Should we not also be welcoming all of our lost children, the people who maybe have left the church or maybe not, maybe they've never been in the church? Should we not be running to greet them, essentially, figuratively? And all too often, we're the older brother, grumbling because they're not like us. They've done bad things. Why are you celebrating? Well, we're celebrating because they have come home. And that's what I've got for you for today. See you guys.